Charlas de la noche. Palabras con imagen. El análisis de los acontecimientos que influyen en nuestra vida con el periodista Francisco Durán Rosillo.
Frank Durán Rosillo te saluda y los saluda a todos ustedes, su amiga María Celeste Raraz, para invitarlos a que se suscriban a mi canal de YouTube, María Celeste Raraz, tal como mi nombre, donde les informo todas las semanas sobre entrevistas que tienen un tema que ayuda a mejorarnos como personas y de paso son interesantes. Las pueden encontrar en mi canal de YouTube, así que los espero. Y se suscriben gratis.
Hi there, welcome. Tonight's broadcast is focus or targeting the second and third generation of Mexican Americans, or like Eva Longoria, those ones that don't cross the border crossed them when Mexico was bigger. Anyway, I'm not going to discuss historical facts. But Americans always care about next door neighbor. For them, it's very important to select a nice neighborhood to live on a better area. For the schools, schools are very important for Americans. Choosing the right school is like acquiring a golden future for their kids. Or they have several proverbs or street phrases that says, for example, the grass on the next door neighbor looks better. Or some ones that comes from the Bible. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Or, for example, one day I have a problem with a water hose. I was waterizing my yard, and one of the hoses broke and sparkled water all over the road. And immediately, one of my next door neighbors crossed the street and came and asked me what's happening, if they can help, etc. America is a country where their citizens always care about neighbors, but not for gossip, not for affect them, not to buy a better car than the one they have. No. Americans are a very progressive society. They always like you stay well, because if you stay well, they are going to live better. For another example, if you paint your house every 4 years, it's obvious that the next door houses are going to look better. Also, when in America every year people try the depreciation of neighborhoods, because it happens in sometimes, they use the condition of the neighborhoods. And if a person likes to sell their own house, is not your own house condition the one that is going to rule the price only. It's also other neighbors around, other houses around, the ones that are going to rule the price. For example, in many neighborhoods, We have a homeowners association that I consider helpful in sometimes because they don't allow live more than one family in a house. They accept one roommate, but they don't like 3 or 4 people crowding a house because that brings more problems to the area, more traffic or crime or fights, situations that we never know. That second and third generation of Mexican Americans understand me better because they are familiar with these examples I am giving tonight. But the best example I want to bring under your attention is the country next door in the neighborhood. We have a trade agreement that begins in the 1980s called NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement between Canada, United States, and Mexico. Recently, last year or 2 years ago, is being renewed and called TEMEC. But this consistently is the same commercial agreement, the same commercial exchange that makes the most important commercial agreement in the world, because America, Mexico, and Canada exchange products, services, and many things in many fields that enhance, enrich technology, gastronomy, agriculture, construction, many situations that are putting a brick to build a better America. And Mexico recently, for those ones, because I am very surprised that American news, for example, newspapers, they don't handle often the reality of Mexico. For example, I was very perplexed, at the same time parallel to it, proud when Mr. Carlos Slim invest $2,500 million in the New York Times. Obviously, the New York Times was in a hard situation. They have a hard shift. They cannot pay their debt because they were in the transition between print, paper was almost eliminated by the digital versions that is happening currently in many editions of many newspapers in America. But the hard situation is that investment is very imperative in the survival of this newspaper, because they need a cash injection to survive, but at the same time, Carlos Slim starts to influence on the editorial line of this newspaper. They publish stories of Mexico, about food, about traditions, about many situations, but they don't manage often stories about the biggest problem that the Mexican author Carlos Fuentes is a former diplomat that born in Panama, but his parents were Mexicans. And so naturally he acquires the Mexican citizenship. And he considered Mexico the largest, the border Mexico-US, the largest bleeding scare in the world. He says those almost 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 and a half miles of Mexican-American border bleed every day, die people. People who die from murder, from smugglers, from drug traffickers, from accidents that happens when they try to smuggle them into the United States. So Mexico is having a lot of trouble. Days ago, the city of Nuevo Laredo was taken by a drug cartel because one of the leaders was detained by the local authorities. Immediately, that leader cartel was sent to Tijuana, Mexico, just to don't alert the band that they are going to deport. The Mexican authorities were going to deport this cartel leader because he born in the United States. He is a USA citizen. His AKA name is El Huevo, the egg. But when you see the images about this bloody fight in Laredo, Texas, and I like to show you because it's important. The American consulate has to close all week for activities, and schools are still closed since 1 week ago. The two cross points to United States, the two international bridges, were closed by the USA government. And at this time, Mr. Alejandro Mayorkas, the director of Homeland Security, was visiting Mexico to evaluate the bilateral cooperation of the plans, safety plans between both countries. And Mexico has to give the arm to twist because Mexico is already considered by many governments a narco state. And the economy, unfortunately, is becoming to be very influenced by the drug cartels. Mexican drug cartels are the ones that most money laundry in the world. And they are approaching the big fashion of encrypted currencies that open for them a huge opportunity to launder money without report, without trace, and look, have an idea about the gunshots. Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas has to close an important sector of the most important streets because many trucks and vehicles were destroyed by the machine guns shots. And the fight was not between 1 or 3 members. No, they were an army of drug dealers that came to the street with machine guns and caliber 50 machine guns mounted in armored trucks to sustain this fight. Finally, by a mistake of the cartel, El Huevo, the personaje or the character most known under this nickname, was detained by Mexican authorities, but they don't like to keep this criminal in Mexico. Also, the military has injured people. They have losses, and the military installations. Look, the headline of this: Mexico deports El Huevo, suspect gang leader, to U.S. after arrest sparks attacks. His capture generated armed attacks by his gang and the Northeast Cartel against 22 military installations and collateral damage to a U.S. consulate, authorities say. And they describe the whole fight. And as that fight happens weeks before, happens another fight in the state of Zacatecas, in the state of Puebla, in the state is a huge list of states where the organized crime and the drug cartels have taken the control. And obviously they don't do in a safe mode. They kill people. They kill everyone who they consider enemy. And they don't care. They murder good people because what they do is they mount the 50 caliber machine gun or several men with machine guns in a truck, and everyone is shooting people on the sidewalk. And it's unacceptable. It is why tonight broadcast is in English, because I like to hook the attention of these Mexican Americans, second and third generation, and sometimes they don't speak Spanish anymore. They don't care about Mexico. They feel USA citizens. Yes, you are. But it's good that you have an idea what's going on, because in many cases, American government don't like to intervene directly because Mexico is a next door nation. And American government don't like to be accused of interventionist. But when citizens request from the government use more safety measures on the border, control more the machine gun sales to Mexico, they take care. It's important. The decision of USA citizens is very influential about the bilateral relationship. It's not an affair between Mr. Biden and Mr. López Obrador. No. It's a relationship of a countries that where 50 million Mexican Americans have their roots in Mexico. And also, a lot of Americans have their roots. A lot of Americans who live in Mexico have their roots in America. For example, San Miguel de Allende, parts of Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, are places where a lot of Americans has their rest home, or they spend the winter up there. to skip the bad weather. So they back to America when the weather gets better. But Mexico is losing a battle, and is losing due to the negligence of the current president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and the foreign minister, Marcelo Ebrard, is not informing to the American authorities the truth about the huge corruption chain behind these problems in Mexican soil and unfortunately are affecting America, because China used Mexico to smuggle fentanyl substances. With those illegal substances, Mexican drug cartels make pills of fentanyl. They smuggle to United States, and just in 2020, more than 100,000 young adults passed by an overdose of fentanyls. And the number is growing, and President Biden is so worried about that. But nobody can help better, like the American families. And some of those American families who have their roots in Mexico, you have to enhance the border protection and help President Biden to stop the illegal pass of drugs on the border. Tonight, that is the essential part of the message. Because I can be repeating many issues, many topics about Mexican internal situations, but are part of this huge complexity context, a solution that begins with you. Anyone who is listening or watching this video blog has a role to play in the solution of this situation. When they send their kids to school, please don't pay attention. If somebody offers you drugs, don't accept it. Alert your kids. Stay pending of your neighborhoods. If you see people that don't live there coming in, alert the authorities, alert your kids, and help with a grain of sand to make America and Mexico good countries and good neighbors again. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'll see you tomorrow in another episode of Night Timeline Talks. Have a good night.
Escuchaste el análisis de la noticia, transparente como el agua, con el periodista Francisco Durán Rosillo.